We're starting off the morning, and I wanted to get a level set with you. Obviously, the Journal's been writing quite extensively the last couple of weeks about a little bit of a change that we're hearing from a couple of companies in terms of economic outlook, specifically in the consumer products market. They're suggesting that there's a slowdown happening on consumer sentiment and spending. Obviously, gambling seems to me like it's recession-proof, but what are you seeing from your business in terms of how people are feeling about their dollars?
For me, recession-proof, I use proof sparingly. It's like when I dropped my phone in the water and it was supposed to be waterproof and it wasn't. It was water-resistant. So I think our industry is recession-resistant rather than proof. But to answer your question specifically, it is generally less cyclical than the general economy, gambling as a category. We are not seeing any impact of consumer slowdown at the moment. Our product really is an egalitarian product. You know, if I choose to wager at $10 stake, that's my comfort level, or $1,000 stake, ultimately it's the same core product. Okay. I choose my stake according to my means and my desire.
Great. But have you seen any of the sort of average betting size decrease at all?
Average bet size has been very constant, very constant. And the other metric, which might be an indicator, is frequency.
Okay.
And we're not seeing any slowdown in frequency either. So bet size is consistent, frequency, session time, session frequency is consistent.
Okay, so we're buying less lipstick, but definitely betting way more. Sounds good to me anyway. I wanted to talk a little bit, obviously your industry has been quite in the headlines in the last couple of weeks. We've seen numerous betting scandals, right, involving professional athletes. The latest one, LA Dodgers, Ohtani. It's obviously causing quite a real tidal shift in terms of public opinion with consumers and legislatures and lawmakers. How do you view this, and what's your response to sort of this heat that's really sort of putting pressure in all your companies?
I see this as an opportunity for our sector, to be honest. Why? Because the starting point has to be, does it exist? Do we have a grown-up perspective on this activity? Does it exist in all circumstances? And all you have to do is look at the search volume around the Super Bowl for some of the illegal operators, and you'll see that there is still a lot of participation in the illegal market. And so when we see these types of incidents, the argument for regulated sports betting and iGaming couldn't be stronger. Total transparency. We know exactly where every player is at every wager. We know what their bet size is. We know who's been betting before them and after them. We understand all of their linked devices and related accounts. And we have a positive obligation to our regulators to report any nefarious activity.
Right. But regardless of, you can all as the industry point to, well, that's the illegal stuff. And we're the good guys, they're the bad guys. Regardless of that, in the minds of consumers, perception is just perception. They don't actually distinguish a lot of times between illegal. So how, you still get painted with that brush. So how do you change that perception?
That's our opportunity. With heat comes pressure, and with pressure comes change. And I think it's that change that we need to harness in favor of regulation. Because of all the positive... What is in all of our interests? No more scandals.
Right.
Protect the underage. Protect the vulnerable.
So do we need more regulation in the sector? I
think we need blanket regulation, all states, and we need to have positive enforcement against the illegal operators. And that's both regulator and lawmaker, as well as the media companies. There are examples in other countries in the world where the payments processing is restricted, media access is restricted, and narrowed to only legal operators.
Okay, but regulation on both sides, illegal and even the legal side.
Excuse me?
More regulation for both illegal, to crack down on the illegal, but also
absolutely.
More regulation to make sure that those that are doing it legally are doing it the right way.
We do it the right way. Those who are doing those who are doing it in the legal market, the degree, this is, I think, a common misunderstanding. The degree of oversight and the intensity of the relationship with our regulator is woefully misunderstood. Okay. We have extremely close, extremely positive relationships with all of our 29 regulators. Yeah. I've got 80 people in my compliance group who do this every single day.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. When you think about these sort of crises and scandals, right? Obviously, it's a PR headwind for you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're ramping up your marketing and spending in really high-profile places. How hard is that? Does that make you a bigger target for the critics? And how do you weigh that when you are putting so much money into it? Right? Is that something you have to balance?
The opportunity for us is to engage in the substance rather than the clickbait headlines. I would love to have an opportunity to discuss all the work we are doing in responsible gambling. The new organization which we've established with the leading operators in this space, focused on how we operate in a responsible manner, in a coordinated manner.
Right.
So things like universal self-exclusion, things like the work we're doing in player education, our deep partnership with the industry-leading program called GameSense, informing, educating our players, assisting those who have problems. And there are at the margin, at the edge, there are players who need help and support, and we have an active program. We invest actively in helping them on their rehabilitation journey.
So that's that trade group you guys established. And
Cool.
how much money is being put towards that?
It's over $20 million for the first year.
For each company?
As a collective, the collective investment in the establishment of the group is over 20.
So all 6 of you or 8 of you are putting in combined $20 million.
Yeah, or more than that.
Is that enough money? I mean, there's $1 billion spent to promote these sport. Like, shouldn't it be a little bit more of a percentage, or is that just table stakes?
I think this is one of those where it's a ready, fire, aim situation. Start, show positive intent, show substantial progress, and then recalibrate according to the market demand.
If more money is needed.
If more money is needed, we invest accordingly.
Okay. I want to switch topics because clearly the Journal I did a story and spent a lot of time with your executives during Super Bowl, and I've done this for a really long time, but it was quite interesting to see a new company come along and decide to go as big as you did in that. Obviously, the headline was a $50 million Super Bowl campaign, which even for me was like, wow, that's a lot of money. I'd love to get your thoughts on it from a CEO perspective, right? Because I know that headline wasn't one that made everybody's knees shake a little bit. How did it go? What did you see in terms of your business?
Yes. So campaigns, delighted overall. Campaigns, I think, as this group will know better than any, you never hit every one of your KPIs, right? Overall, what we saw was increased awareness of the brand. We saw elevated player acquisition. Year on year, the number of first-time depositors around the Super Bowl period was up 72%. We had much more female participation. I don't know whether that's because Tom Brady is as gorgeous as he is, but I don't.
Could have been Vince Vaughn. Who knows?
Do you know, Vince I love Vince. Anyway. So I think overall we were very pleased with how the brand represented itself. The message associated with the brand was important for us as the key message was BetMGM's for everybody apart from Tom Brady. He's won enough. Right? And where our natural leans up to this point was BetMGM is more sophisticated, BetMGM leans a little bit older. Yeah. What we wanted to come away from that campaign with was a recognition that this isn't an exclusive club. It's an aspirational club, but it's not an exclusive club.
What KPIs didn't it hit? Where did it fall short?
So I saw not enough. I was expecting more first-time depositors in Vegas itself, in Nevada itself. And one of the things that we underestimated, frankly, is the friction of signing up. In order to sign up to a digital account in Nevada, you actually have to go and present yourself in a sports book and show your ID, sign some tax forms. It's it's a lot.
I can't imagine people going down to Super Bowl in Vegas, standing online and filling out paperwork with a cocktail in their hand. So I don't blame you for that. Any other sort of challenges along the way? And did you grow market share? Because clearly you're number 3, and I would say a trailing number 3 for the 2 kahunas in there. Yeah. And I know it's early to sort of see the full analysis, but have you seen upticks in market share in certain markets.
Yeah. So we have seen upticks in market share in certain markets. Our industry and our business is a cohort churn model, cohort build and churn model. And so our market share this month will be as a result of the work that we did over the last 12 months. So we can expect the work that we've done now in the first quarter to have a progressive and growing impact on the performance later in the year. And that's so what we do is we look at top of funnel KPIs, acquisition KPIs, advancing positive signals. Then the work becomes retention, monetization.
Yep.
And so that's the work of the next few months.
Would you do it again?
Would I do it again? That's a question that we're discussing at the moment.
Well, I'm trying to think who has Super Bowl next year. I'm sure they're already on your phone. Talk a little bit about, one of the things I found interesting about this story was because you were sort of supercharging your ad spending so much money, your marketing department had to go before the board to convince them and to you twice. Because obviously, I think the quote was something like, Super Bowl is like a wedding. Anytime you buy something, the prices go up, which was phenomenal. Like, totally, that is Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. What was it like? What did they say to you that convinced you to move forward with this? Because as a marketer, I can't imagine having to go to the board to hey, I'm going to spend $50 million in a couple of weeks on Super Bowl. What was that like, and how they convinced you?
There's a degree of data and there's a degree of ambition. Okay. And we are at a point in our journey where, frankly, because of the total, the marketing dollars as a total, this represented an investment within a tolerance. So if you divide the 50 into things you can measure and things you need to believe,
okay,
the risk in the things you need to believe relative to our total marketing budget was at a manageable scale.
What percentage of your marketing budget did it cover?
I can't tell you. No, I knew you would go there.
Trying. It's a hell of a lot. That's all I know, because I can't get away from. They're everywhere. You guys are if it's not your ads, it's your competitors. It's crazy how much advertising. I wanted to talk a little bit because obviously you talked about market share. You definitely are that distant third, right? And you have the two kahunas ahead of you. How do you catch up? Given that they were early to this, they seem to have their apps are a little faster, right? You guys are working to make sure that your app is actually the same sort of speed and has all the bells and whistles. How do you catch up? Is it just about a marketing war at this point, or how do you go about that?
So we start with the data. So in the fourth quarter, BetMGM had 14% aggregate market share in sports and gaming in the US and 22% in Canada. The objectives we win, our 2024 plan, the big three head pillars of the plan are continue our journey in product, upweight our investment in acquisition and retention marketing, and unlock the power of omni-channel in Nevada. It's one of BetMGM's superpowers or differentiators. MGM Resorts has over 40,000 rooms, 13 million room nights in Nevada, and within the resort of an MGM property, we have a different relationship. We have a less noisy relationship with our players. We don't have the other brand screaming for attention. And so we are really looking to unlocking that Nevada experience for all of those MGM Resorts guests and visitors for the benefit of BetMGM. And we unlock that through technology, through a great app experience. Eilers, which is one of the industry analysts, has said that the BetMGM app is the leading app in Nevada, bar none. We have made tremendous progress in the last 6 months. The time to log in has improved by something like 50%. So from a product perspective, we're making tremendous progress. We also acquired a sports pricing business called Angstrom. One of our shareholders acquired Angstrom last year. And in fact, we've just now, last couple of weeks, we've enabled Angstrom to power a product type called a same game parlay. So multiple selections within the same event, powered by this Angstrom business. Why is it important?
Because parlay is where all the money is.
Parlays where the margin is.
Margin, yeah.
There's a lot of money in straight business, but margin is in the parlays.
That's where everybody's winning.
Yes.
How do you, given that this is become a marketing war, how do you balance profitability and growth, especially in this hyper-competitive landscape?
I think you focus on your cohort economics. I mean, you continue back to economic theory, marketing theory. You know, you invest until your marginal contribution equals your marginal cost. Yeah. And so we are fixated on that. And one of the challenges actually for our business is that our revenue stream, the cohort revenue stream, is non-linear. So sometimes our players win, sometimes we win. You know, on a weekly basis, 45% of our players do better than we do. Right? So so estimating player lifetime value, cohort lifetime value, and making sure that is always current, and right-sizing your investment accordingly in real time is something that the team does very actively. Yeah.
Okay, so you had two of these targets in your site, DraftKings, FanDuel, but now you've got Disney coming along with the ESPN, probably one of the best-known brands in the business. Mm-hmm. How has that impacted the business overall? And does that mean, you know, we saw a slowdown on spending by some of your rivals, but all of a sudden the spending on advertising has gone up? Are we going to get back to a sort of real war around this because they're such a big player?
So underneath Disney is a different company. It's one of the operators that has been in the market for a while. So really the change is the name and the access distribution. What we saw, that company started fast in November last year, and as you'd expect, saw lots of downloads and a big splash and a flurry. What we've seen subsequently is a significant slowdown, a significant moderation in their impact on the sector and their market shares in the states in which they operate. So now they're back to single digits and sometimes even low single digits. Okay. And the other point to note is that they haven't really made an impact on the gaming side of business.
Okay. But you see a lift for your business as well because of the noise surrounding them jumping in, or no?
Not really. Okay. Not really.
Some of the competitors had said that might happen, raising all boats.
I expect over time we will see deeper penetration, broader market penetration and participation as a result of them being in the market. You know, we saw that. I think they saw over 2 million downloads. Yeah. Some of those would have been first time to the sector. Exactly. And that's good for the regulated market.
Okay. I want to switch and talk a little bit about X, because I think it was a week before you're about to go live, you announced a partnership with X to basically be integrated into the platform. Can you walk us through how you decided to align with X? Obviously, there's plenty of marketers that have now sort of taken a pause or not gone on the platform because after Elon Musk took over for various reasons, whether it's the content, brand safety concerns. What conversations internally did you have about taking that leap? What convinced you to do it? Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the starting point needs to be a recognition of where our players are and where the conversation takes place around live sports. Live sports is one of the last things that we need to consume live. One of the last things that we watch live. Maybe the eclipse. I don't, you know. And the conversation around live sports takes place on X. And the board discussion was we are not taking a political position. We need to be where our players are, and that is on the X platform. And so we were delighted to be the exclusive live odds provider to X. And on X, BetMGM is always trending because live sports is always trending.
Right. Did you look any research or do any research to figure out if there would be any impact to your brand overall?
We didn't research that specifically, no.
Okay. And obviously, it seemed to me it was very close to the Super Bowl. It was literally like days before. Was there challenges with getting it done, or what did you face when you did this? Because it was a pretty big integration.
It was a big integration, and so we and the X team worked very closely, collaboratively to get the technology to talk to each other, to sync in real time.
Okay. How did that go? Given that we've written a lot about their tech team, like obviously there's so many people have left there. Mm-hmm. did that go smoothly, or was that a struggle for you guys?
Largely smoothly. I mean, we have other examples of technical integrations before. I wouldn't call this out as being any. Yeah.
Great. I wanted to talk a little bit about, we hit on it before, like the $1 billion that are spent in this market. How do you stand out, right? Like, because I said it to you the other day. Like every time I get on any feed, it's like one after the other. How do you guys sort of look across and find places that aren't so crowded with your competitors? How do you think about that?
So, I mean, this is back to the comment I was making about the power of Nevada, the power of MGM Resorts. We also, and we talked about X, we're the exclusive provider of live odds on that platform. We also have a rewards economy. So we are also the exclusive partner to Marriott Bonvoy.
Yeah.
So they're a distribution partner for us, and as I say, exclusive in the category.
Yeah.
So we're looking for ways that we can lean into the things that make us different, MGM Resorts particularly.
Yeah.
Omni-channel as a concept, as a player experience, is something that we think we do best.
I think you did that elaborately in Vegas for the Super Bowl. I saw so much. You leaned really heavily on outdoor in that market. Is that something you're going to replicate at all of your different properties, at MGM properties now, or is that just like a one-off because it was Super Bowl?
We absolutely do. We have in-property activation teams. We will regularly host some of our digital-only players in a real-world environment. We collaborate closely with the host team at MGM Resorts so that our digital players can have a premium experience in a physical world that they would otherwise enjoy in a digital world. So there is that connectivity that I think we can offer differently from anyone else.
Great. I don't want to take all the time. You guys probably have questions. Please feel free to raise your hand, and we'll get a mic to you. If there's anybody that has a question, please raise your hand. We have got mic runners, and I'll keep going until somebody wants to jump in. I wanted to ask you, because I spent a lot of time with Matt, who's your CRO. He's fantastic. You should all meet him. He carries the CRO and CMO title, which I thought was really interesting because, again, we're under another, I feel like it's every 2 years, the CMO title is under siege. How did that evolve, and why is this the right mix for your company?
So it's partly the extraordinary talents of the individual, partly through I'd like to drive greater accountability throughout the business. And the combination of marketing and some of the analytics allows me to drive that. So some of the commercial teams as well as the analytical teams, the whole ecosystem is now accountable.
Great. And do you think future-proofing for companies that are on this path, that the CMO should sit at the table with data analytics, and if not, own it?
Definitely.
Okay.
It's definitely, in my experience, it's been very effective in our business.
Great. I definitely you brought up women bettors, and I wanted to talk a little bit. Obviously, we're all, watching where Miss Iowa is going to go and what's going to happen, and the ratings are coming out in a couple of hours. We know it's going to be another record breaker. How, you did the Super Bowl ad, you had Wayne Gretzky, you had Vince Vaughn, and obviously Tom. Mm-hmm. How much marketing to women are you doing? And is that an untapped marketplace? Because it definitely feels very male to me.
So, what an interesting topic at the moment. The latent potential of women's participation in sports betting has been the mirage that has long been sought, never been cracked. That code has always remained just on the edge of opportunity all over the world. There is in sports betting, male participation dominates like 80% plus. It's different in iGaming, by the way, where it's much more balanced. iGaming, table gamers are generally skew more male, slots generally skew more female. But in the world of sports betting, I feel like we're at an interesting point, and I don't know actually how it's going to play out, because what we're seeing is interest in women's sports, obviously. Caitlin Clark has captured the imagination. captured the emotion, and in our world, that's the recipe for participation. Right? Now the question, and we saw more bets on Caitlin Clark, the player-centric bets on Kate. She was the second most bet-on person in the men's and women's competition.
That's amazing.
Only Zach Edey was ahead. Okay? And so what this says is that there is interest in the women's sports. Now the question is whether that translates into female fandom and then female adoption of the wager.
But
we don't know yet.
How do you stroke that? I mean, because you don't target women, right now?
At the moment, we don't. Generally, the ROI on more male-centric advertising is higher. So you've got to follow the money.
Right.
Or is there an opportunity to be more explorative and A/B? And maybe. I feel like this is a moment. I feel like the landscape has changed enough to warrant retesting.
You should come hang out with my tribe because we're betting on everything.
Come again.
I mean, it's so much fun. It makes it just like you're all hanging out. I mean, I was surprised because when I was talking, everybody was like, there is no women targeted market.
No.
It's very fascinating. Well, maybe she'll change that industry as well. Talk a little bit about, we're obviously like exhausted from March Madness. What's a bigger business driver for you guys, March Madness or the Super Bowl?
So Super Bowl as a single event is bigger, obviously, much bigger. Given the tournament is 67 games, in aggregate, the tournament is bigger. In terms of total volume, total betting volume, total bets, the tournament is bigger.
But if you take Super Bowl and all the playoffs?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
And how much does Super Bowl drive in that single day? Because there's all sorts of figures in terms of how big of a betting day it is. Like, what's the surge that you saw? And did you see a lot of surges on your app, too, downloads? We
do see a lot of surge. As I said, year on year, we had 72% growth in the number of first-time depositors. We generally plan for, if the conference championships, the individual game is 1x, it'll be 2x, that kind of volume. And that will probably be 10x the next event.
But we can't get you to say you're going to do Super Bowl again, are you?
No.
Anyway,
Not
any
yet.
questions? We have a question back in the back.
Hello, Adam. It's Stephen Wolf Pereira from Televisa Univision. Thank you for being here, and great job as always. Two questions. One, certainly Super Bowl and American football is great, but the real football is obviously much bigger. Slightly biased.
Yes.
So I'm curious, how does Copa America and just soccer in general in the States, do you see that increasing as well on your platform? And then second, more important question, who are you cheering for the title race in the Premier League? And full disclosure, I'm an Arsenal fan.
Okay. So, we actually have an Australian head trader. So they would argue that the football is even a different one than you're thinking of. But that's a separate conversation. No, in terms of the beautiful game, we are seeing growth. We are seeing interest. But the big four big four US sports are by far the volume leaders. The other, for completeness, the other sport where there is a lot of interest and a lot of live activity is tennis, where about 80 to 90% of bets are running, are live while the game is on. And to your second question, I'm a suffering Spurs fan, so I can't comment on.
Great. Any other questions? We have one right in the front. That'll be our final question.
Thank you. Hi, good morning.
Oh, you okay?
Sorry, my bag is too heavy. Or maybe I was thinking about betting too much. My name is Carolyn Bao. I'm with Apps Flyer, where we specialize in data. So when you mentioned about data, it really made me wonder if you could elaborate a little bit more about CMOs should have deeper understanding of data to see at a table. What are your thoughts with regards to a CMO that really demonstrate deeper understanding of data and measured by the type of data they understand, measured by the type of user and consumer journey they're instrumenting. So what do you expect for the modern day CMOs?
Whew. That's a really important question, a difficult question, because our landscape is so data rich. Our sports betting landscape is so data rich. And let me take a step back. I love our business. Our business honestly operates, I think, at the forefront of e-commerce. Because it's a zero-sum game, there is a risk management element where we have to know everything about the player. When they bet, how much before an event they bet, who's betting around them, are they generally winners in every sport or not? This is just one aspect of it. That's before you've even got into the performance marketing element of our world. That's before you've even got into the predictive analytics on player value, on the cohort stratification, on the value stratification, and the value stratification links to your CRM program. And again, measurement of every CRM campaign against all of your cohorts. Right? These are just some of the elements that go into making the right marketing decisions. This is why I think in order to market most effectively, to all of the top of funnel, mid funnel work, you need to know all of the other stuff because that goes to value. That goes to the ROI side of the equation, which is why, to your question earlier, they need to be together.